Well, centuries down the line, from the Stone Age invention through the steam engine advancement across the technological age revolution, and now what many have come to describe as a super highway to the future, and the wonders of the here and now generation, tagged the world of artificial intelligence, AI. As AI continues to redefine every sphere from art to science, commerce, where does Nigeria stand in this evolution, and how is this shaping the nation's development agenda? Nigeria's Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Boso Tijani, joins us live on Arise Prime Time. Glad to have you join us, Boso.
Thank you so much.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel, Telecast TV. I'm Miracle Angala. You're watching a conversation with the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Boso Tijani. Is the digital economy and communication making progress under President Tinubu Administration? He answers this question. Endeavor to watch to the end. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, subscribe, like, comment, and share your thoughts. Don't miss trending videos.
Let me start by congratulating you first.
Thank you.
The ITU Vice Chair. That's interesting.
Mm.
Congratulations. We'll get back to that later in the course of the program, Minister. According to you, investment in digital economy has grown ninefold. Quite commendable and interesting, attracting $191 million in FDI in Q1 2024. Where are we today? This is August 2025, and what can you attribute this growth to?
I think it's appropriate for me to say a big thank you to the President and the people of Nigeria, of course, for the opportunity to serve as a minister. It's, as you can imagine, extremely daunting task, but I think it's been a massive, massive privilege, and I'm glad that we're here 2 years after. We've started with the really difficult part of the questions, which is the investment into the sector. And if you've looked at the history of this sector, probably in the last 10 years, you recognize that this is a sector that, after the full liberalization of telecommunication sector in 1999, became the major engine that has been driving significant growth in GDP in Nigeria. I think many people don't pay attention to that fact. When you look at the graphs of GDP in Nigeria, up until the point where we did full liberalization, it was almost flat. But the moment full liberalization came, you started seeing a very steep upward movement in that graph. And the reason is that the sector that I supervise is truly today responsible for driving up productivity in nearly any other sector in the country. Imagine what banking was like before internet became ubiquitous in Nigeria. Just imagine, you had to go to the branch queue to get things done. Imagine what telecommunications was like. Before the full liberalization, Nigeria had just about 500,000 telephone lines. Today we have over 200 million.
200 million.
Over 200 million lines. So it's really skyrocketed productivity across key sectors. It's not where we want it to be, but we've been doing well. But when we came in, we met a very difficult situation. Difficult in the sense that inflation all over the world, including in Nigeria, has been on the rise significantly over the last years, especially after COVID. Yep. And in Nigeria, because we as a government had to take the difficult decision of embarking on reforms that the president had clarity on as being the critical part to growing our economy. It meant that it was actually quite difficult for the companies. And these companies have not been able to increase tariff for the last 10 years, to the point where they were even declaring losses. It was becoming difficult for them to mobilize capital to bring into the country to invest. And it took us a while. You know, they kept pushing. It took us a while to do. We took the painful process of understanding what would be the optimal allowance that we could give to them that would not send people bankrupt and still then allow them to be sustainable enough to
balancing act.
A balancing act. It was quite tough. I think it was probably one of the most difficult things I've had to do as a minister. But I thought we got it right. From these folks declaring losses, I think if I remember clearly, MTN probably declared, was it MTN or the entire sector declared about 400 billion in losses. I think it was in the first half of last year. The first half of this year, These guys are declaring profit that is probably near close to 500 billion.
I hope it's reaching out.
It is.
It's trickling down.
It is. And you know, the way it trickles down is, I say two things that people, again, don't celebrate government for. If this sector was allowed to continue to struggle, we were going to be losing significant jobs. And we could trace about, in Nigeria today, about 500,000 jobs to that sector. And if they started struggling, what will happen is they'll start shedding jobs. And as they start shedding jobs, those will be our people that used to be gainfully employed that will not be employed. So that's one thing. But we've seen that this is a sector that has not been losing jobs over the last 2 years. In fact, it's been increasing. The other thing that we track is investment in the sector. And we have authoritative information from original equipment manufacturers that Nigerian telecommunication companies have paid over $1 billion for equipment that is coming into this country. Because we've also mandated that if we allow you increase in tariff, you must also invest in infrastructure to ensure that the quality of the experience of our people will be on the rise. But you know, we're not stopping there. Also, government is now at a point where we've been able to negotiate good investment that is up to $2 billion that is going to be going into fiber optic network.
I was going to come to that. I was going to go to your foundational reforms, but now you've talked about the $2 billion. Have you yet rolled out the 2 billion fiber optic infrastructure? It's supposed to, according to what I have read, begin in Q4 this 2025. We're already approaching it. So have you rolled it out?
No, we've not rolled it out. That's when we hope we will start digging. The work we've been doing is actually mobilizing the money, which is being led by the World Bank. So we're a couple of weeks away from confirming that leadership a chunk of the funding, which is about $500 million. I spent the entire day today reviewing a set of documents with folks from the bank, which is focused on helping us then mobilizing 51% of the total that we require towards being able to deploy this. But what we've done in the last 2 years is negotiate this deal with the right investors. We've also now done what we call the high-level design of where the fiber is going to go to, which we successfully released.
The investors you're talking about here, before you continue, is it both local and international?
Both local and international. In fact, we're encouraging more local investors to invest in it because we want a strong local participation and ownership of the infrastructure. But what we've done is 2 weeks ago, we also released the design, the high-level design of where the fiber will go. The design is so exciting that we expect that every geopolitical zone, every state will have what we call the fiber rings. Every local government will have fiber rings, and every ward will have what we call point of presence, which means the typical home in Nigeria shouldn't be more than about a kilometer or two from a point of presence of fiber. And that, we believe, is going to change the game completely. It is a legacy project that the president has decided we're going to do. It's painful to get there. You know, I have to say this is the hardest thing I've done, you know, as human. But I know that it's the kind of project that once we're able to deliver on it, Nigeria would never be the same again when it comes
now,
to
let's talk about the foundational reforms.
Yes.
You said the foundational reforms, advancement in AI, startup ecosystem have positioned Nigeria as a global leader in the digital economy. How much of a global leader has Nigeria become?
I think we should always celebrate ourselves. Nigeria is the largest market for telecommunications on the African continent when it comes to FDI, for instance. Like in terms of capital coming in, we're the largest.
The entire Africa?
The entire Africa, even bigger than South Africa. We're the largest.
What is responsible for that?
I think we have a super solid economy in terms of the diversification of it and what our people will do with the services that is coming from that sector. 1, 2 is our population. We're a large nation, and we're a nation of a lot of creative people. Look at what the creative economy folks are doing with short videos, skits, and things like that. You know, our music as well. All these things, they ride off digital infrastructure, and because of that, the investors know that this is a nation to invest. And what you've seen so far in the country is actually a tip of what is possible. Once we have ubiquitous connectivity, you will start to see smart application of connectivity and internet in agriculture, in education, in security. A lot of the places where we can't secure at the minute, part of the reason why we can't secure them is that most of them are off the grid, they're not connected. And it's why we also launched our rural connectivity project, which we've piloted here in a village called Kura in Abuja, and we're now working on deploying 7,000 towers to communities that are currently not connected. This community is home to about 20 million Nigerians, most of them in the northern part of the country. The president has made it clear that there's no way we're leaving these people behind without carrying them along. That's why it's sanctioned that we should ensure that, as against waiting for the MNOs who may not want to invest in rural area, which is not profitable for them, that government must find ways to plug that investment and ensure we can bring those people online.
Inclusion. Now let's discuss the 3MTT. You say he's trained more than 117,000 Nigerians in digital skills since 2023. That's 2 years from. Where are these Nigerians? I mean, it's one thing to talk about a thing, it's another thing to know that they are there and they're working. So where are these Nigerians, and what was your mode of selecting the people that were trained, and is the training still ongoing?
It's still ongoing. This is the largest technology talent accelerator program anywhere in the world, Just like the fiber project we're deploying, it's currently the largest in any developing country in the world. There's no developing country that is trying to fill that gap significantly. And it's the same spirit we've taken into 3MTT. And I say to people, 3MTT is that program that when I feel low, I get pulled by the people who participate in this program, because they're everywhere in the country. No matter which state I turn up today in Nigeria, there are 3MTT people that are benefiting, because we open it up to everyone from every local government. You know, when we open it up, we actually go
across the 774.
774 local government, because we used a model that is called the Applied Learning Center. Because we understand that our country is quite big. There's no way you can train people all over the country if you don't have physical locations where they can actually go to. So we have Applied Learning Center, over 210 of those centers in all of our states and FCT. So if you're participating in 3MTT, you get the opportunity to be able to go there. But bear in mind, 3MTT is not for, you don't need university degree to participate in 3MTT. You just need to be able to read and write. But you know, if you know now how many people we've been able to turn into gigs, people that are gainfully employed, you know, thanks to folks like UNDP that is supporting with stipend for them to get internship. A lot of the companies that have signed up to also employing these people, especially in the technology space. This is a program that MTN is supported, IHS is supported, Airtel is supported. We're enjoying significant support on the program. And I always challenge people, you know, go to any social media of your choice, social media platform of your choice, and put, you know, the number 3 with MTT, and you see a ton of videos from the participants who are actually benefiting from this program, talking about their experience, talking about where they work now, for those of them that have been able to secure job opportunities. And that's the excitement, that it is possible. We can do. Of course, the biggest challenge is getting as many of them as possible into jobs. Yeah. This is always the biggest problem with any training program. You can train a large number, you need to get them into jobs. And that's why we're also working with the business process outsourcing companies who are willing to uptake Nigerians that are well-trained with digital skills, and then outsource their services to companies abroad. And we're now creating something that we call the Talent City, which is identifying buildings, government-owned buildings, that we can refurbish and turn into a proper, well-maintained sweatshop for the BPOs to be able to employ a lot of these people.
So let me ask you these two questions. I think you've alluded to it a bit. Your target and objectives for training them. In other words, how do you intend to deploy them? And what impact will this have on the economy, job creation, and security, if any?
Now, I think, as we all know, if technology is going to power productivity across our key sector, you do need people who understand technology to actually help you deploy technology, to build technology. Some of these people will become the Inyolu Aboyeje, the entrepreneurs, you know, the Shola of Paystack, the Tayo Vio. So all these guys that we've seen create amazing startups that are now creating job opportunities. But if we don't invest in mass training these folks, will leave some people behind. And we know that there are talents all over the place, but not everyone has the opportunity to get trained. That's one thing. The second thing is that whilst technology is powering economies all over the world, a lot of the developed countries are aging in population, so they actually don't have the workforce that they need. And they're looking to countries like Nigeria, where the average age is 16.9, you know, about 70% of our people are under the age of 30. They are prime, and they're those who will power the workforce of the future. But the challenge for government is ensuring that we can scale them appropriately, so that they are ready for that global opportunity.
So it's not even just job opportunities here in Nigeria, but across the entire globe.
Across the entire globe, because some of our people will travel. We want to ensure that when they do, they have the right skill set. For those that will stay and for those that we can keep, our goal is also how do we help them secure remote opportunities so that they can actually stay in the country and in foreign currency, have a good life in the country, but also serve companies abroad.
How long will it be before every Nigerian begins to access affordable, high-quality connectivity regardless of location?
The target we've set for ourselves is this is a project that the lifespan of the project is 5 years, but we are aggressively going out there to
5 years from when you came on board?
No, from the end of this year to actually do the digging and deploy, because what we're deploying is 90,000 kilometers. So it's quite significant. And to be able to do that, we're actually intentionally training folks on the science of how to undo this cable, which is a special kind of cable, fiber optic cable, how to slice it, how to dig the ground, to lay it, in a manner that is safe and sustainable. So we're going to be training close to 5,000 people to be able to do that. We will train small businesses that will also support that entire process so that we can deploy these folks en masse across the country based on that design that we've released 2 weeks ago. And hopefully you can get to a point where in 3 years' time, wherever you find yourself in Nigeria, you will have access to quality connectivity.
All right. We'll get to talk about, you've mentioned it briefly, but we'll get to talk about it more. But let's talk about this, and I'll get to speak on some other things. You've been elected, like I said, congratulated you at the Administration when we started, Vice Chair of the International Telecommunications Union, ITU. In Switzerland, that was where it occurred. How does this appointment complement your mandate as the Minister of Digital Communications here in Nigeria? How does it complement?
I think the starting point was what we experienced, which was what led me to being extremely active at ITU level when we had the subsea cable cut at the beginning of last year. And the entire economy was in the dark. We weren't connected for a few hours. And for me, it was obvious that whilst we're transferring most of what we do as people onto the internet, we stand the risk of us being shut out completely if we actually don't go towards thinking of the resilience of the digital infrastructure. Over 99% of the internet that we use is being carried by subsea cable. So what I did was to provide global leadership for that, not just in the region. I actually went to Geneva and we started a new advisory committee, which is global. So before this one you're talking about, I actually became the co-chair for a global advisory committee on subsea cable resilience. And that work is now ensuring that in Nigeria we have better clarity on how to manage our subsea assets, which is about 8 cables already in the country. But not just for Nigeria, we're providing leadership for the region. Nigeria is now attempting to become the redundancy management hub for connectivity across the entire West Africa. So what it means is that when countries have issues with their subsea cable, that there's opportunity for them to take their load and shift onto other cables so that they are not in the dark for a long time. By in the dark, I mean not connected. And the idea for that is that if you don't have a way of managing redundancy when you have them, you can be down for days. And you can imagine what that will do to your banking because it is connected. You can imagine what it will do to communications in the country because connectivity is a major part of it. But because Nigeria already owns the highest number of subsea cable in the West African region, we're the only country in the region with our own communication satellite. We see the opportunity for us to become the regional hub. We're already a regional hub for connectivity, but we want to strengthen that so that our digital economy also will become stronger. The 90,000 kilometers fiber that we're laying, our goal is also to ensure that that same fiber can be used to connect Niger, Republic of Benin, a part of Cameroon, all the neighboring countries, which will also bring value to our economy from that investment. So this is the level of thinking, and that's what led me to becoming extremely active at the ITU level, where now I've also now been elected as the vice chair for the ITU Council. ITU Council is almost like the board of the International Telecommunications Union. And once you're the vice chair, the next year you become the chair.
Oh,
and that will be the first time.
So I can then congratulate you ahead.
I think you can because it's by law. And that will be the first time that a Nigerian is also occupying that position in 50 years.
But 50
years.
That speaks volume for what you're doing. Take these 2 questions in your stride. Telecom tariff has increased geometrically. I mean, you talked about it briefly. Would you consider that a setback, or a plus to the industry, you know. And then in terms of job creation, you've consistently maintained that ICT holds the key. What are you doing to create that investment that would really, really create jobs for our team in youth?
So let me start with the second one, and you know, recognizing that we're spending a lot of effort in strengthening the digital infrastructure in the country. We're also very clear that you can invest in the infrastructure. If you don't have the workforce to put it to use, it may not translate to economic value for our nation and our people. It's why we focus not just on training for 3MTT, which I think we've talked about extensively. In fact, we've started another program which is being led by NIDA that is already trained over 260,000 people. But this is not at the same level as 3MTT. This is about digital literacy, ensuring that the average Nigerian can actually understand how to interact in the digital economy. You know, how do you send emails? How do you protect yourself online? You know, how do you do those basic things that you have to be able to do? That level of sophistication in our people has direct implication for the level of sophistication of our economy and the kind of products that our people can consume. And we think it's important, especially in the age of artificial intelligence. You know, part of the risk with AI is people not knowing what to do with it, how to deal with it, how to interact with it, how to use it for economic value. We want to take that out of the way, which is why we're investing significantly in that training. The other thing we're doing, which again has been popular, is something that we call Build-a-thon, where we say, you know what, let's not wait for until when people are in the university. Can we go further down? And that's why over the last 2 years, we've also been running a program called Build-a-thon, which is focused on secondary school learners. We've done 5,000 up until before August this year. And as I speak, there's over 2,000 of these young secondary school kids down holiday in Abuja and Ogun State that are learning around the hardware side of things. You know, they're learning a bit of creativity. How do you create solution and translate that into technology? Some of them are learning coding. For most of them, this is the first time that they're being exposed to it. And our thinking is that if we catch these folks when they're still young, that we can prepare their mind, they will of course become digital native, and they can be those that will create the digital future that we want to see in Nigeria. But we've not stopped there. We've trained civil servants, over 1,500 of them, on topics around how to handle data, for instance, in the digital economy. That's something we've done extensively. With Microsoft and Google, we've also trained a significant number of senior civil servants on artificial intelligence and what does it mean for the way they do their work and what they should watch out for and how they can use it in the work.
I hope I have time to get into that at AI. The second part of the question, the tariffs.
The tariff, and I think we spoke about it. It's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
We have.
A necessary evil, unfortunately, because you had the opportunity of saying, do you put the sector at a place where it's not sustainable? And this is a sector that each and every one of us, whether you're poor, rich, old, or young, that we all rely on for so many things. And if they kept crying that there's absolutely no way for us to move forward without being able to bring investment in, it was a major problem for the government. So for me, I think in allowing that level of increase in the tariff, which is now put the sector at the point where it's profitable, it's put the sector at the point where they can bring in more resources, more capital, and invest in infrastructure. It puts us as a place where we can ask them difficult questions. You know that quality of experience that we've all been talking about.
What I've always wondered, I mean, as a Nigerian and other Nigerians, is it comes to telecoms tariff. You want to get investors to work. You come to electricity tariff. And you're always wondering, why are Nigerians always bearing the brunt? I've always wondered. What would you say to the Nigerian out there?
But that's not the case in our government when it comes to connectivity, and that's what we've been speaking about all night. When we've looked at it, the services and the quality you want to consume is a function of investment in infrastructure. And we've seen that even for the private sector, whilst we need to give them some allowance for them to be able to continue to invest, they can't get us there fast enough, which is why government is floating this special purpose vehicle to invest $2 billion in fiber optic cable. Because if we want to wait for the private companies to get fiber into every local government in this country, I think we'll be waiting for another 20, 25 years. But when government comes down, we've seen this same example in places all over the world. We've seen in France what they had to do to quickly accelerate investment in digital infrastructure. In fact, Financial Times just released a report on how investment in fiber in the UK is led to significant improvement in the quality of connectivity there. So these are things that nations are having to do, understanding that the key backbone for our economy today is connectivity.
Connectivity. You intend to move the broadband from 48 to 90%, almost half by this year. And this is related to what you call right-of-way issues as a game changer. What's the percentage now? And just speak to this.
We've moved from 46 to 48, so we're quite close to half. Right, okay. We're quite close to half. But if you look at it in terms of number, that's gone from about 90 million, I think, to about 103 or something like that. But what we've also done in terms of what we promised was right-of-way has always been a barrier for those who want to invest. And we noticed that it will also be a barrier for the investment we wanted to make. So we've been working with the state. And since we came into office, 11 states have zero-rated right-of-way for those who want to lay fiber. And we're still working with more states to be able to. And this is something that this sector has been chasing for years. For years, in 2 years, we've been able to
just quickly, because my director just told me I should be wrapping up. What does Nigeria stand, why does Nigeria stand in the advancement of AI, exploring it for the nation's good? And what's the AI collective platform about?
So when we came in again, we set clear target for AI. We said we want to take Nigeria to 25% in the world. The UN released a list of top 60 AI countries last year. Nigeria is on the list of top 60. So we already actually surpassed the target we gave to ourselves. Oxford University also released something that talked about vision for AI, which is what's government doing in terms of leadership. Again, Nigeria was rated 100%. You know what we did? We used artificial intelligence to find all Nigerians working in AI all over the world. We wrote a model to find it. And we brought about 150 of them to Abuja. So they co-created our AI strategy.
From across the world?
From across the world. They co-created our AI strategy, which is why it's one of the reference AI strategies on the African continent today. We then decided that for government to be able to achieve the objectives in the AI strategy, that we must bring in the private sector, which was why we created the AI Collective, which is a community of practice of anyone and everyone that is doing anything in artificial intelligence in Nigeria. Then we started them off by getting support from the founder of eBay, Old Connect, to give them $1.5 million. Remember, just last month, Mr. Bill Gates was in my office. He's also giving another $7 million for those with ideas that can scale immediately in support of AI, particularly in education, governance, and health. That's also something that we've been able to secure. Okay. When we get these resources, we don't keep it within government. We push it towards the private sector using the AI Collective, because we believe that that's where the innovation is going to come.
All right. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much.
Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani. What a great work you're doing. One can only say more grace to your
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.